Lamed Daled Amid Aleph. We made it to the two dots. Okay, so maybe we'll tentatively schedule next Shal Shuddis, and we'll just hopefully remind each other that not this Shal Shuddis, but next Shabbos we'll make a siyum during Shal Shuddis. Okay, Nasnu Babar Afilu Omek Meya Amma. So you put in a bar. The Mishnah told us that if you put in a bar, even if it's 100 amas deep, the Eruv is a good Eruv. That's what the Mishnah says. Eruv. Those are the last two words of the Mishnah. So high bar the koi hecha. Where is this bar at that the Mishnah is teaching us this apparent chiddush that it's a good Eruv even though it's 100 amas deep into the pit? What exactly is going on?
Is this assuming that you tied a rope or something on the bread so that you could get it?
Not necessarily.
At 100 amas down, you're not reaching in this pit to get out.
They said there's no rope or window.
No rope or window.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you have a problem. In other words, like, how do you get, if it's 100 amas down, how do you get this piece of bread?
Yeah.
Theoretically, you can get it.
Steps.
Right. You don't really have to get it. You just have to be able to get it.
Right,
Let's see.
So,
Right. No, that. Well, we're not going back there, but that's on that case, there's no rope and there's no window, so we'll leave that. Okay. So one more time. High bar de koyhecha. Where is this bar standing exactly or existing that we make it a valid eruv? Ilema de koy b'shusiyachid. So no Rashi. We can turn the page without any concern. Ilema de koy b'shusiyachid. If you're going to tell me that the bar is in a shusiyachid, and you two are Rishus Yachid, it's all one big happy family. We're sitting in a private domain, and you have this challah 100 amas deep into the ground. Pshita, okay, Rishus Yachid Oila Adarakia. It seems obvious that this should be a valid eruv. What exactly is the chiddush of the Mishnah? We know that Rishus Yachid goes up to the sky, right? So just like V'checha de Salkelei Elochnam Dinachtel Latachas. If Rishus Yachid goes up to the sky, there's no reason why he shouldn't go down to the bottom, okay, and go down as deep into the earth as necessary. Rishus Yachid has infinite height and depth, so it goes both ways. So what exactly is a chiddush if you are within that same domain? You're in Rishus Yachid, the bar of Rishus Yachid. What exactly is novel here? Vela de koi b'shus rabim must be. Okay, that this is a pit in Rishus Harabim. If it's a pit in Rishus Harabim, now you're not right now in the bottom of the pit, right? That's not where you will Konesh Shvisa. You're Konesh Shvisa on top, outside the pit. So if that's the situation, that you're standing in Rishus Harabim and the bar was dug in Rishus Harabim, so the Niskavan Lishvas Hecha. Where exactly did you intend to acquire your Shvisa? Where was your place that you wanted to be when Shabbos entered? Ilamaila. If you're on top, right, if that's where you wanted to be Konesh Shvisa, what's the Aleph? Amai, why should the halacha be that it's a good Eruv? Who, b'mokom echad, Eruv mokom acher, right? This seems to be a classical case where the Eruv should not work. Because the one thing we said you cannot play games with is the concept of going from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabim. That does not seem to work, even though my kash is notwithstanding, I didn't see anybody ask it, but you can do it with a shinui. Because, like I said before, we don't go with that whole shinui route, and you're too close to the actual act to allow a shinui to work here. Maybe we're afraid you're not going to use this shinui. I can see many reasons why that we don't like that shinui concept. To do it with a deviation, but the bottom line is it's not a good eruv. He's in one place and the eruv is in another place. It says and ilamata. And if he sets up his abode down in the bottom, he wants to be like one of these, extreme Boy Scout kind of guys and set up shop 100 feet down into the ground. Pshita, then it's pashut that it should work. Huve eruv mokom echad. He is in the same place as his eruv, and l'chayr there should be no problem in the air of working. It should be a no-brainer. So I don't exactly see, the Gemara says, where is the novel, either it doesn't make sense or it's too simple. So, and since it is Eruvin, simple doesn't seem to really to work. You got to give me some chiddush to bite into. So what exactly is going on here? So lo tzricha. So the answer is we need it only for a case to koiber kamlis. He is in the hole is dug in a kamlis. and he intends to be Konish Fisa above the pit, which is in a park, which is in a field, which is in a non-private domain, nor is it in a public. It's not a public nor a private domain. It's that Carmelis in between state, which rabbinically is prohibited, but Minat Torah does not have any prohibited status. And Rebbe, and our good friend Rebbe comes back to remind us of his position. The Omar, because Rebbe says, "Kol davar shu mishum shvusa gozul ben hashmashos," and this is an official on the record Mishnah now that officially aligns with Rebbe that even though yes you cannot carry from the pit to your dwelling place on Shabbos because you're not allowed to carry from a Kamelis Rishus Yachid or vice versa on Shabbos. But since Ben Hashmoshos you could, based on Rebbe's principle, you can therefore make it a valid Eruv. So basically, this the last part of the Mishnah is teaching us Rebbe, plain and simple, it's teaching us Rebbe, and that would be a legit Chiddush because even though we've known it now for a long time, Mishnah has a right to teach it to you and say that this is what I'm holding. Okay, let's do the Rashis. Not too many Rashis at the top of the page. He says Pshita Hachigasinan. So if you're going to tell me that it's Rishus Yachid, Pshita Rishus Yachid Oilad L'Rikia. Just like it goes up, it goes down. Umayafilu. What's the afilu? What do you mean even it's 100 amas deep? There's no even. I guess that's the way Rashi learns the kasha. That is, there is this zero chiddush in it being deep if you're in the same domain. What's the chiddush now that it's? Let's see, bar omak asar rishus yachidi, right? So we know that a bar 10 tefachim deep is already rishus yachid, and if just because it goes 100 amas shouldn't change anything. But bar dekoy bekarmelis, we are dealing with a bar that's sitting in a karmelis, could go in bika. For example, like an open field, tahainu sados. Which is what you call a field. The bika and the sados are the same. Where the bar is dog, where the bar that's dog is a rishus yachid because that's deep and has walls and it's more than 4x4. But the outside area is a karmelis, and therefore it's accessible. Okay. Right, so Tosis wants to know. We asked the question that that if the bar is rishus harabim, if the bar is rishus yachid and you're up rishus harabim, we said amai, right? We said why should it work? It's two different planes and it's a right stick problem. So Tosis sort of reminds us of the question we all should have asked, and that is maybe we did in our heads. And having Motzal Meimar, Tosis says Mishum Nosen Eruva Yesho Dalanamis. Right? Why not just simply say that you have the Dalet Amis, like we learned in Rava, right? We can't forget that. And if I'm within Dalet Amis, it should be good, even though I'm in separate domains. Why not learn that the Mishnah is teaching me Rava's Chiddush? That basically within Dalet Amis we're all in one domain.
I would have thought you just put the simple barriers up in the four corners, like you did for the watering holes. And that would just make it,
Well, okay, but that's especially used for watering holes. It's not a watering hole, so you don't know that we have that special.
We don't know whether there's water on the bottom or not. We don't know what's it.
Well, it's not. It's
just
water.
Red hole instead of a watering
well,
hole.
okay, but okay. So it's an interesting point you're making, but must be you see that we don't do that. So anyway, he says El de I feel is do me the ratio, right? So To's answer is that the reason why we didn't pick that case where you're within 4 amas, where we said you have your Kona 4 amma area around you, is because we're assuming it follows the same type of scenario as a tree where you're more than 4 amas away, and we don't want to limit the case to a different kind of scenario than the tree case, which was right above. And we have breaks in between, Mishnayos, but when you're learning Mishnayos, these Mishnayos flow one after the other, and the assumption is that it's in the same scenario. Other Rishonim do learn some kind of different answer that somehow, in this case, you wouldn't be able to use Rava. Somehow to go and crack and basically say that we're all under one domain to crack through Rishus Yachid and to Rishus Rabim. You wouldn't say that, so but that's other Rishonim. But the Tosafos tells us the simple answer. That's why within Dalaramas wouldn't work, because we assume it's not that case. Okay, ready for the next Mishnah?
One more question.
Sure.
So we've gone through all these things, but it's still rabbinically prohibited, right? The pit and the Carmelists.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's why it needs to follow Rebbe, who says anything that I could do, bein hashmashos for l'dvar mitzvah would be good enough to make the Eruv. So, yeah.
But it's still forbidden to carry, or it's still okay?
Well, I mean, bein hashmashos, technically, I could do it. No,
Only during that time.
right, only like, whatever, 12 minutes or so, or
So that would be
that itself is a whole, what is bein hashmashos? How long is it, and, when is it, and whether, it's a whole big tumult in brachos about bein, right, but whatever that time frame is, I could theoretically take it and get it. So if I can get it ben hashmashos, then I can.
And that would go not only in a pit, would be like even here in Valley Village, we could do it.
Correct. Correct.
So it's no pit. It's no big deal. It's a pit, or it could be anything.
Right.
This is Carmelist.
Yeah. We've mentioned many other scenarios where rabbinically you have to transgress a rabbinic injunction in order to get the eruv, but since that would be allowed to be done during ben hashmashos, that would make the eruv valid, right? Okay, so it looks like we're back to diagrams. Okay, that's exciting. So next Mishnah. Nostu brosh hakona o brosh hakundis. If you put the Eruv, this guy has a lot of imagination. He puts the Eruv, maybe he's practicing for an Ed Sullivan kind of, production. So he wants to balance the challah on top of the pole. Okay, so he puts the challah on top of a kana, a reed, or brosh hakundis, or on top of a pole. Okay, does he make a distinction between a kundis and a kana?
The point at the top.
Schwach difference. Okay, whatever. But one's a reed and one's a pole. One's, I guess, is a finished product, and one's a reed coming out of the ground. Zman shu tolush, if that reed is detached, v'nods, and then stuck back into the ground, then afil gvaya kuf amo harei eruv. Okay, so if you're following along in the diagrams, it's 41 and 42. Okay, it's even if it's 100 amas high, this is a valid eruv. This is a valid eruv. Okay, let's see Rashi. Kundis plo blaz. Okay, kundis is a pole. Ve'enam mechuborim el tlushim v'nutzim baretz. These are not attached, but rather they are detached and stuck into the ground like a makeshift. I don't know. What do we do? When do we stick? Whatever. Stick poles into the ground.
Fence post.
Yeah. Okay. Gemara Parach va'amrit Reisha Rebbehi. And we're about to ask that you just told me that the Reisha is Rebbe. Amar loy gazur mechuber ben hashmashos. Okay. So why do they have to be detached? Let's say even if they were attached, the only problem would be that I can't access the challah because I'm using something which is attached to the ground. But we said ben hashmashos, it's all good. I'm allowed to take the challah off the tree. Ben hashmashos, if I can take the challah off the tree, why can't I take the challah off the pole, even if it was attached? Why does it have to be detached? Right? The Mishnah seems to be saying when it's detached, there's no rabbinic problem. If no rabbinic problem, then you're good to go. Well, why? Who cares? Let there be a rabbinic problem. You should be good to go, even if there is a rabbinic problem, because we don't care about rabbinic problems. Ben hashmashos. Okay, so we'll have to see about that. Tomorrow we'll get into that. I feel gvoya meya ama hoyel ve'en rochav dalid lamata. Since it's not 4 on the bottom, lav rishus yachid have. Okay, it is not considered rishus yachid. A good that same concept we had earlier. So Rashi seems to learn that even though the platform on which the challah rests is 4x4, which arguably should allow you to bring the walls down and make it into one big rishus yachid, right, like a bima. If that was a bima, if that was like came all the way down, if the sides came down all the way, that would be rishus yachid, because it's 4x4 and 10 tefachim high. It's rishus yachid. But Rashi's saying, since it's not 4 tefachim wide in the bottom, lav rishus yachid have v'avagav delmaila dalid or erev al gabi mokom dalid be'inon. Okay, because you need an erev on a place 4x4, I guess, all the way down. Okay, so I seems to be some Rishonim might take issue with this. Okay, but that seems to be Rashi sort of, we would have not even have gone here and just said, well, it's not dollar by dollar, whatever, but Rashi says it is, but it can't come all the way down. Remember we had Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda who says if it doesn't, if it doesn't come all the way down, you can't. If it doesn't fill up, then you can't bring the walls down, and whatever. That was that issue. And here Rashi seems to be saying that since it doesn't, it's only on top there. That it doesn't drag the walls down. Okay, pass those tissues, please. Thank you. Okay, so let's proceed. Ready for the Gemara. Rami le Rav Ada bar Masna Rava. So Rav Ada bar Masna asks a contradiction to Rava from this Mishnah to another Tanoic source. How? He says, because he makes an inference. He says, Tolush v'not's in, like Tosh, lo Tolush v'not's like. Right? Let's just read the Mishnah. The Mishnah says the pole and the reed were detached, and they were then restuck into the ground. So this is not growing from the ground right now. So we can infer only when it's detached is it a valid Eruv. If it's attached, it's not a valid Eruv. Mani. So who would make a distinction between Tolush and Mechuber? Rabbanan he. This seems to be like the Rabbanan, the Amri called Avishum Mishum Shvuz Gazral Olav Ben Hashmashos, who says everything that's rabbinically prohibited. There is Xer even Ben Hashmashos, even if in that doubtful twilight zone area it still applies, and if it still applies, no longer is that Chal accessible because I can't take it off. I can't take it off the ground or off the pole. Because I'd be using mechuber, so that's why the mission needed to say dafke was tolush. Seems like it's a rabbi's opinion, namely the Rabbanan. Vramit Reisha Rebbe, but then you just finished telling me we just finished learning that the very very previous Mishnah had to follow Rebbe because that's how you were able to take the challah from the pit because you're on the Carmelis and it's in the pit and it follows Rebbe. So what Reisha Rebbe? The Sefer Rabbanan? Are you about to tell me that these two Mishnayos, which come right back to back, the ratio of this Mishnah is Rebbe and the Sefer is Rabbanan? He says, Amalei is the answer in the back. It's a nice little contradiction, but Kfar Rami B'chamal Rav Chizda, we already had this question posed by Rami B'chamal to Rav Chizda, V'shani Lei, and they already answered him, Reisha Rebbe Sefer Rabbanan. Yes, that is exactly what's going on here. So it's not a big problem to learn the Reish's Rebbe and the Sefer's Rabbanan. So just, accept it. It's not a big deal. Ravina says not so fast. We don't have to accept this, and it maybe is a big deal, and we don't want to say it. And therefore, I'll give you a different answer. Ravina Amar Kula Rebbehi. I can learn this Mishnah to be completely consistent with Rebbe's opinion. If it's a Rebbe, why would it have to be detached? Why could it not be attached? The answer is simple. V'seifa gzeira shema yiktaim. When you're dealing with very soft reeds, there's a much bigger danger. Reed is not a tree. So by a tree, no one's going to break off the tree simply by accessing it. You have to intend to break it off to create a little branch for yourself, and that we're not going to be geyser ben hashmashos. But when you're dealing with a reed, a little bit of a maneuver can, rip the reed out of the ground, and that becomes a much more serious issue. And that's why even Rebbe is going to agree that the reed needs to be detached. Because if it's attached, it's an accident waiting to happen. Okay. So that's Ravina's answer, and that would take care of that. Let's catch up on the Rashis. Tolush v'nods hudav erev, avam mechuber lo yav erev mishum dechiboyle mishklei mishtamish bilan. Right? The diak is that if it was attached, it would not be good erev. Why not? Because you're dealing with mechubel karka. You're using the equivalent of a tree, and you're not allowed to use the tree on Shabbos. But it's ben hashmashos, and aren't I'm allowed to. So one answer is the ratio is Rebbe and the Sefer is Rabbanon, and Ravina's answer is no. Gzer shem yiktam. Next Rashi, we're afraid you're going to come to separate it from the ground. You're going to cut it off. Rachu. A reed is very soft, and therefore ikla migza shem yiktam kishokali. When you're going to take the erev and to take the challah, it's very easy. Let's say, a piece of the reed sticks to the challah and you pull it off or whatever. It's so easy for the thing to just shake off like that and pull out. Avul ilon kashu, but a tree is hard. And for that particular period in time, that during that brief Ben Hashmashos period, that we're afraid that you're going to go up on the tree and cut off a branch, we're not going to impose that gezerah in that small time frame. Avol katimas kana, when it comes to cutting off the reed, vadai it's almost like a certainty. Okay, wow, he calls it a vadai. Aidi derechicha. Okay, since it's very soft, miktama. V'lav shvusu, and then if you're going to cut it off and pull it out in the process of accessing that eruv, that's not a shus anymore. Now we're talking about the real deal. El malacha de mechayev mishum kaitzer. That's a real malacha de raisa. That's a kotzer malacha, and therefore we're not going to play games with that. And that's why even Rebbe would admit that in this situation, dealing with the reed as opposed to a so what about the poles? I guess the same thing with the pole. The pole's never. The pole's made by Yid, so it's not shaykh for it to be. The pole's sort of there only. I guess agav, because if there's a pole would not be a chiddush.
A telephone pole you talking about?
Well, a pole is like a stick that sticks that you put back into the ground. Right, you can't plant a stick into the ground. So
It was already detached, and now it's attached like a telephone pole.
right, just say.
Well, it's not attached, there's no roots growing.
Yeah, exactly. You stick that's what we're talking about, like a telephone pole attached to the ground. But that's by definition. What do you gain from that case? That case is obvious that it's not mechuber. Teresa just, I guess, thrown in.
Detached. The telephone pole was detached, put it in, and then attached.
No, it's detached. There's no roots. Attached
I
means
know,
roots.
I
There's
know,
no telephone pole.
but it was in the first place detached. If you put a pole that's already detached into the ground, that's okay, right?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying why everyone would agree that there's no concern of being using mechuber. No, is a pole that's cemented back into the ground,
Attached.
called shemim mishtamish bi'ilon.
I don't think so.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't seem like that case is a chiddush altogether, that you're allowed to do that. There's no distinction between hard and soft. I don't know. I just maybe just thrown in. I'm just asking, why did the Mishnah have to teach it to us anyway? Isn't it obvious? That's my point. Okay.
Maybe Bisman Talish, but now it only applies to the kana. It only applies to the reed.
Okay, I hear. Then what's? Yeah, I just was curious what the chiddush was.
So what's the purpose of putting kundus? That's
Right.
what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking. Right. So it should be, whatever. Just throwing in for the ride. Okay.
Hard school puts it in parentheses.
Oh, what? Really?
So long as the weed has been uprooted.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm assuming that with a pole, there's no uprooting. It's always considered uprooted, right? So I guess it's just sort of there. Okay. Let's go right. The two dots.
Oh, so maybe it's
So,
right. So if we were to learn the one about the reed, why would we need the kundus? I'm sorry. If we were to learn about the reed, why we need the pole at all? Period.
Right. That's
we
right.
Learn the halacha of gavol and kufama and everything else.
Exactly. Right. Because like you say, the assumption is by kundis, all of this idea of talush and soft and then attached and whatever it's detached, attached wouldn't apply to a kundis altogether. It would be clearly always good. So okay, something to think about. Okay, fine. So two dads. Hahu fulmasa the aslan adoi. There was a fulmasa, a group of troops. Look at Rashi fulmasa. Chela melech chaya mokum dachuk l'tamidim nei anshe chayil. Okay, so some kind of a battalion shows up in town for Shabbos. I guess they're on their way to do some kind of a battle or something, some kind of strategic movement. Maybe they're going to the border and dealing with the wall and lack of it. So they decide to show up in town to spend Shabbos there. So these little towns didn't have like total absorption. They can absorb anybody, any group of people. So things are a little crowded. Okay, didn't have enough space. So now what's going to be in the base medrash? We're going to need space to hang out. So what happened? Ahu pulmasad aslan adoi. Back to the Gemara. There was a pulmasad that showed up in Adoi. Amr of Nachman. So Rav Nachman said to his students, "Puku avidu kavushe kavshe ba'agma go out and perform this service for us of bending the reeds down in the agam, in this sort of field, area out there in the meadow. Ulamachar nazel v'nesiv uluye. And tomorrow we will sit on those bent over reeds in order to facilitate a place where we can actually, daven, or have shurim. We need a place to be, and there's no place now with the troops showing up inside the regular base medrash. So we need a place where we can congregate and let the reeds be that place. And by putting the reeds down, I guess you're going to make like little cushions. The reeds will serve as little cushions, and everything will be good.
But they're still attached.
Okay.
He's not breaking them off, he's just bending them over.
Exactly, so that's a great question. So when Rav Nachman gave these instructions, Rav Chama was standing there watching these instructions, and he said to them, wait a minute, he says, or in another version as to what happened, Rav Ukva bar Ava of Nachman, it was Rav Ukva bar Ava who asked Rav Nachman, Tolish v'no, it's in, loy tolish v'loy, loy tolish v'loy no, it's loy. Okay, but if only time that you're allowed to access the Eruv in the Mishnah was when it's detached, okay, and put back into the ground. But if it was not detached, okay, and put back, but it just stayed, as mechuber, you're not allowed to access it, right? Otherwise, why would you have to pull them? Why would it have to be pulled out? If I'm allowed to access reeds that are growing in the ground, the vosepis, what?
You sit on the tree though.
Yeah, but Lamaisa, you see that you can't. So why are you saying it's okay for us to come tomorrow and sit on these things? Why should it not be considered accessing like a tree, and therefore it should be prohibited? He says, Amalei, so you answer in the back, you've got two different cases. You're mixing up apples with oranges. And that is, or maybe vegetables with trees, I should say. Lo, Amalei, Hasam Uzradin. There we are talking about Uzradin. We're talking about a softer types of. The other way around. Uzradin is the harder ones. So there we're talking about harder reeds, and here we're talking about softer reeds. Let's see Rashi. Kavushe kafshe ba'agma. Tzu'u v'kafla kodem zalzeh. Go out to the meadow and bend the reeds over one on top of the other to make like these little cushions with the bent reeds. He didn't say pull them out, he just said bend them over one to the other. Harbe, a lot. Lasos and kamin kisos leishvale, to make them like little chairs to be sitting on. So we'll sit on these little, like haystack kind of things. But Rav Nachman was attacked by either Rami bar Chama or Rami bar Ukva. Ravuk Barava. They either one of those two. One of the two said, "What's going on here, Rav Nachman?" Right? The Mishnah is very clear that you can't access the Eruv if it was not detached. Alma. What do we see from our Mishnah? Kanim ki'ilonheim. That kanim are essentially no different than trees. You can't use trees on Shabbos, and reeds are the same as trees. Why else would they have to be detached? So if you can't use reeds, how are we sitting on these reeds tomorrow? What's going to make them acceptable? Teretz is there's a difference. Uzradin, shuk shukfar. They are already hard, and that's in the Mishnah. Harei hen ki'ilon. Okay, and they are therefore like a tree already, and therefore they need to be detached, because even though I guess they're soft enough that you'll pull them out very quickly, as you go right, they were answered that the concern is that even Ben Hashmashos, Ravina's answer was that you might come to pull them out. So hopefully this can still fit in with Ravina, I would imagine, and therefore that's why there's a concern, because they have a din of a tree, because of the fact that they began to harden. When I said go ahead and make those little cushions, I'm talking about reeds that were not hard. The kierek. Okay, a reed that's in a softer state has a din of a vegetable as opposed to a tree. So things can vary, right? It's a great Jeopardy question. What's the same type of thing that in its softer state has a din of one and a
Marasayan issue to begin with.
What? Marasayan?
Yeah, the guy's sitting on a reed. You don't know that it's a soft reed, a hard reed.
Well,
what kind of reed? Then you just figure, or it's like he can sit on the reed, I can sit on the tree. Take your pick.
Okay, well, we have enough gzeris. If the Gemara didn't make that gzera, I'm happy, to say to you, let's not look for trouble. But we don't make every possible gzera. So let's see. It seems like this one we didn't make, and therefore it seems like it would not be a marasai issue. Let's finish the Rashi. There's no mention anywhere of the in the rabbinic injunctions that you can't deal with a vegetable attached to the ground. You can't deal with a tree. And therefore, if your hat's on a tree and you wanted to take the hat off the tree, be a big shiloh that you couldn't really do it if the hat's resting on the tree, like a chal is resting on a tree. But if your hat's on a carrot that's in the ground, probably happens a lot in Stockton, whatever.
More on corn.
Right. Okay. So do the Chabad guys take their hats off the vegetable in Stockton? And the answer is they could. They could, as long as it's not on a tree. A vegetable is not part of the tree gezerah. Okay. So that takes care of that, and I guess we're good to go. There's soft reeds, there's hard reeds. Hard reed is a tree, soft reed is not a tree, and everything is fine.
So why don't they mention where you put the challah in these bent over soft things? It doesn't mention it, just leaves it out. Like we just assumed that you're putting the challah someplace. Here, every
Bending
time
him over to sit on.
Well, again, let's not confuse it. This case wasn't the case of Nachman wasn't an Eruv case. He wanted a place to sit tomorrow morning.
Oh, I thought, but it's outside the city limits, so
No,
wasn't
I
it?
didn't say it outside the
No,
city.
we never said
Oh,
about.
I just assumed because
It's just where the soldiers are.
No, we're just talking about them handling it.
So we're not talking
Right.
about an area.
No. This was he said no. We need place tomorrow to sit because the troops are in town.
Oh, it's not an Eruv situation.
No.
I got mixed up.
No. This was brought in only because you just told me that reeds are considered trees, and that's why you're not allowed to use it. So why are you allowed to use the reed to sit on
I got it.
if it's like a tree? And the answer is it depends what kind of reed.
Okay, I just got mixed up.
Okay, fine. Weiter. Let's proceed. Uminot Tamer, right? So Uminot Tamer, back to the Gemara. Uminot Tamer, the Sharlam Bein Uzran L'Shein. How do you know there's a distinction between soft trees, soft reeds, and harder reeds? The Tanya, I'll prove it to you because I'll show you that innately in Mishnayos, when you look at Mishnayos, kanim, the word kana, which is a reed, could have a different connotation. So you see that what I'm telling you is not off the wall, because you see it. I'll prove to you. You have to acknowledge this distinction anyway. The Tanya hakanim v'ha'atodin v'higin min ilon hein. Because we're in the brisa that kanim reeds, atodim v'higin, different types of bushes. Okay, min ilon hein. They have a din of a tree. Okay, and since they have a din of a tree, ve'enon klayim bekerem, they're not considered part of the prohibition of planting vegetables together with a mishmash, right? Grafting and planting vegetables in a whole big, conglomeration there is not acceptable. But these things are not considered vegetables, and therefore klayim do not apply. Yet v'tanya idach hakonim v'akidin v'horvainin min yerekain, the konim and the kidon, cassia, I think something like that, or an urvanim.
White cassia.
Yeah, that's kidon, and what's orvinin?
OSIERS.
Okay, whatever that is. Osiers, okay. Or the osiers, these, it says, but our really concern is a konim. So not that you should forget the other two, but the real focus is konim to konim. Konim are mentioned in both. So one Bryce has said that konim have a din of a tree and klein does not apply. V'tanya idach, hakonim v'akidon v'urvin min yerekain v'hein klein bekerem. And that they are vegetables and klein does apply. So what's going on here? Don't you see that? You see from these Bryces that konim are flip-flopping back and forth. Kasha Dodi, isn't there a direct steer between konim to konim? So how are you going to reconcile it? The only way to explain it is very simple. Kan buzradin, kan b'shenuzradin, shmamina. Okay, so that's your answer. Okay, fine. So we took care of that. We've proven the difference between soft reeds and hard reeds, and let's just get to the Mishnah. In fact, the Gemara of Akeda and Yeriku is a kida really a vegetable based on what we just quoted? This is tangential. Once we mentioned the word kida, is kida really a vegetable which makes a problem with klayim. V'tanan ema kiven pegam al gabe kida levana neishu yerek bi'ilon. You cannot graft a pegam or ruda, not sure what that is, but it's a ruda in Old French, okay, on top of a kida levana, top of a white cassia bush, okay, why? Because neishu yerek bi'ilon, that it's a vegetable with a tree. The pegam is a vegetable. Does it say what a pegam is? A rue, R-U-E. Okay, so it's a rue, right? We had that in Cambridge, maybe. So you can't cross a rue with a white kida because it's klayim. You just told me a minute ago that kida is all good to go because I didn't have a tree. So what's going on? Again, you just told me because it's Neshu Yerek Be'ilon. I'm sorry, the other way around. It's okay, but that once again, Ein Makivim Begam Agabi Kida Levanim Neshu Yerek Be'ilon. So Yerek Be'ilon is no good.
That would be a vegetable with a tree, a root plant with the white cassia.
Right. So, but okay, we just were saying that if it's a tree, the Einon Klayim Bekerem. It's not min Elon Hain.
The hard ones were trees.
No, but the fact that it's a tree it said before made it mutter. Now it sounds like, I guess because the rue is a tree. Eshu Yerik B'Elon. Well, yeah, let's just finish the Amr of Papa. Kedel L'chuv v'kedel v'L'chuv. Bottom line is, it seems to be a steer between one kida and another kida. And the answer is, it's not a steer because you're assuming that there's no difference between a regular kida and a white kida, and there is a difference. So white kidas have a din of a tree, kind of.
Before the cassias weren't the white ones, so they were vegetables. So they were soft.
Okay, right. In other words,
now
right.
This white cassia is a tree.
Right.
So the root would go with it.
Correct. Okay. So in other words, bottom line again. So the first kida that we quoted, we said min yerekain, vein klayim. Here we're saying that it's a min elon. So what's going on? Teretz says two different types of kidas. I'm just bothered by, before we said if it's an elon, it's not a problem with klayim. Now we're saying if it's an elon, it is a problem of klayim. Well, let's take a look at the Rashi. Okay, kidon bosam shishmo kida. It's a type of a spice or incense fragrance that it's called kida. Urvinin ushri shablaz. Okay, kasha kalam akalam. So you have a stira between one kalam and another, and pegam is ruda, which is ru. Okay. Shh. And the answer is that there's a difference between a white one and a regular one, and we'll pick this up tomorrow. Shkoyach.